This video is going to be a rewrite for Batman Arkham Knight, a game that I was always a big fan of, but my most recent playthrough was a surprising disappointment. Last month, I released a video talking about the 6 biggest problems I had with the Arkham Knight story. While that isn't required viewing or anything like that, if you want to understand my specific critiques, which will help contextualize where I'm coming from for this rewrite, it might be worth checking that out first, because this video is strictly a rewrite without much critical analysis. Is this video gonna get really dorky and delve into some borderline fanfiction? Absolutely. But, as a massive fan of this series, of this character and his history, I thought it would be fun to offer my perspective on how tweaking this game's story could have really delivered something a diehard Batman fan like me would have loved. Obviously, I'm just some chump with a YouTube channel, I'm not a professional writer, and this video isn't meant to shit all over the real writers who worked hard on this game. That's what the last video was for. But I'm putting myself out there for you all to lob criticism my way. As you're listening, if you think something sounds dumb, please let me know in the comments. I enjoy putting my ideas out there, but I really love when people respond with something even better. Also, just to get in front of this now, I've never read any of the Arkhamverse comics, so my continuity is strictly from the games and DLC content. With all that said, I want to establish that I only have one rule for this rewrite that I'm going to try and not break. I'm going to talk about the changes that I would make in order to deliver the most satisfying version of events possible, while staying within the parameters established by the original story. By that I mean, I recognize game stories are typically written to accommodate gameplay elements, so none of that will change, and also, I'm not going to change anything about how the story establishes itself. This way, the changes I'm presenting are somewhat on the rails and seem within reason, rather than just being a complete fanfiction smorgasbord. Let's jump right in. First things first, I'm going to change the militia commander Scarecrow is partnered up with to be Deathstroke from the jump. It makes much more sense that Deathstroke would join an alliance of villains over the Arkham Knight. Jason Todd teaming up with murderous criminals to get revenge on Batman never made sense to me and seemed purposefully glossed over. Implementing Deathstroke in that role early on also takes care of another problem people have with this game, one of the biggest you hear over and over again, the use of drones. With Deathstroke running the militia, that decision makes somewhat more sense, because Jason's whole pitch is that he knows Batman better than anyone, and yet he sends out unmanned drones, essentially inviting Batman to use the deadliest force he ever has to take them down without any consequences. I cannot forgive that would have ever been Jason's plan, especially because of how many militia troops there are. There's enough to easily man every vehicle 5 times over and strap an additional guy to the hood of each tank. If the militia is a paramilitary group that Deathstroke has been gathering since Scarecrow came to him after Arkham City, it would make much more sense that he couldn't amass a super large number of people and the drones are necessary to bolster his forces. If that could just be called out in a line that replaces the line about Jason knowing everything about Batman, then I think the drones become immediately more forgivable. So I would keep just about everything with this game's story the same, up until Ace Chemicals. The first big change would be Deathstroke showing up in the helicopter and confronting Batman, not the Arkham Knight. Deathstroke will remind the audience that Arkham Origins is canon and say some blah blah about his revenge and then scurry away after getting bat-tanked enough. The next slight change I'd make is when Batman is pinned behind the glass wall while trying to rescue one of the employees. In this version, it would just be Deathstroke's militia who trap Batman to confront him, but before Batman can take them out, the Arkham Knight shows up. He takes out the goons himself, and while still separated by the glass, tells Batman that he couldn't resist introducing himself at the place where it all began, and prompts Batman to get to that toxin bomb quickly before the Knight is ruined. As Batman sicks the Batmobile on him, the Knight disappears. Within Ace Chemicals, when Batman confronts Scarecrow for the first time, I still want Scarecrow to be acting in control like in the original story, but I don't want him to be the mastermind of this game. I love Scarecrow, but he comes off way too stupid and lucky in the original and never pulled off being the big bad since he gets sidelined early on, so I'm not even going to pretend he's the big villain like the original just kept trying to do. Instead, I want him to be the inciting incident for the story, and an overarching threat on a large scale, similar to how Hugo Strange served the story in Arkham City, but the more personal story being told is through the Arkham Knight. Which brings me to Jason interrupting the Batman-Scarecrow confrontation with a video feed of a ninja-esque Robin kidnapping Barbara Gordon from the clock tower. This moment also loops Scarecrow in that the Knight exists and gives him the same chance to escape as he had in the original. The Knight gives some cryptic words about taking over this city from Batman and how if the Dark Knight needed a Robin, then the Arkham Knight might as well have one too. From here, I'd actually keep the fear toxin bomb exposure cracking Batman's mind and bringing the Joker to the forefront the same, but I'd remove the dumb flashback revealing Tim Drake Robin working in the lab and the other Jokers. I'm cutting that Joker blood plotline entirely because it's truly awful. By doing so, I think that already cuts down on Joker exposure by like 40%, which I think is a reprieve for franchise fans. I also think the continued exposure to Scarecrow's gas, in this concentrated dose at the beginning, throughout the game, and his direct exposure to it after the Cloudburst spread, is more than enough justification as to why the Joker is all up in that bat brain. So instead of that flashback, I'm going to mix things up and transport the player a little bit before the events of the Scarecrow confrontation with Tim Drake inside a Gotham City bank that is being robbed by Two-Face. I'm changing all the Two-Face banks up to Robin missions because why the hell not? It also ties into his post-game DLC, so actually, I'm being really frickin' smart. Anyway, he can be bantering back and forth with Oracle at the beginning of the mission, you know, actually get to see them interacting as a couple and flesh them out as characters, then halfway through the mission, her radio connection would suddenly cut out. That's when the other Ninja Robin nabs her, but Tim Drake Robin doesn't know that yet and finishes his mission. Tim keeps trying to contact Oracle afterwards, but can't get through and tries to contact Batman instead. Bruce, do you read me? Bruce. Bruce! That's when we are brought back around to Batman waking up with the Joker doing his meet and greet. Joker congratulates Batman on successfully killing him, saying that Batman can't deny his feelings that the world is now safer with the Joker dead. So now, this hallucination Joker wants Batman to become something crueler, more vicious and more terrifying without any limits to finally succeed in his crusade. Batman gets the hell out of Ace Chemicals, same as the original, and Robin makes contact with Batman about Oracle. It's here that the effects of Joker's influence on Batman already begin to rear their ugly head, as at the prodding of the Joker, Batman doesn't tell Robin the whole truth about Oracle's kidnapping. He doesn't mention the other Robin. He does tell Tim that Oracle has been taken by the Arkham Knight and that he and Gordon are on the way to investigate the clock tower to track her down. Tim wants to help, but Batman denies him, saying that someone has to focus on keeping Gotham safe while he works to find Barbara. Tim is angry, but agrees. Gotta keep those character conflicts up, gotta keep things spicy. From here, the story progresses the original way, with Gordon and Batman's confrontation leading to Gordon going AWOL after Barbara, Batman going on his little investigation to track her down, up through the first confrontation with Riddler. Then, once again, we flash back a bit to Robin to show that since the last time we saw him, Alfred had put him and Nightwing in touch. Just like in the original, Nightwing is in town tracking down Penguin, and it's pretty much revealed that Alfred put them together so that Nightwing could be there in this tough time for Tim. So Nightwing invites Robin to come along and help him with his tracking of Penguin. Mostly, this would be a lighthearted level of brotherly bonding, really seeing the relationship fleshed out between the original Robin and the current Robin. I think that Nightwing is the best person to bring into a situation like this when someone is feeling really down because of his jokey attitude, but also his emotional understanding. He'd want to make Tim feel like everything was going to be okay while also listening to his fears and trying to talk through them. Nightwing can say something along the lines of, "This isn't the first time one of us has been kidnapped. Hell, I think Babs might be tied with my record now. I really should try and get kidnapped again." The point is, Batman will save her. He's a dick, but he always pulls through. To which Tim can reply, "What about Jason?" Which will silence Nightwing for a moment, and then he'd say bluntly, he'd never let that happen again. Never, and it's that simple. The mission itself would be a lot of following one of Penguin's trucks across the city. I think here would also be a great opportunity to poke fun at the franchise internally. We'd get to see Nightwing and Robin do their best to move around the city. If you want me to go crazy, I'd even say you could switch between characters, but neither one of them is as well equipped as Batman. Nightwing doesn't even have a cape to glide around, and Robin doesn't have the intense grapple boost and suit upgrade that Batman has in this game. It would be interesting to see them poking fun at each other while still managing to keep up in their own way. They'd arrive at some kind of hub where the rest of the trucks that Batman eventually tracks are all together. Nightwing and Robin jump in to cause some commotion after listening to Penguin's big "Go Team" speech to his goons over a TV. They send the trucks scattering, which leads Robin to compliment Nightwing on a strategy of using the scrambled trucks to eventually lead them back to Penguin's location. It's then here that we cut over to Batman's POV and pick up with him between his confrontation with Riddler and the continuation of tracking down Barbara. So we have the reconstruction mission play out, and then tracking the Knight through the tunnels, their confrontation with Jason shoots his ribs, and the car chase, which leads to the interrogation of one of the militia and the name drop of North Refrigeration, which puts Batman on course to meet up with Nightwing and Robin in this version of events. Nightwing gives Batman the scoop, and just like in the original, Batman tells Nightwing to head back to Bloodhaven, and he also tells Robin there's more work for him to do in Gotham. Batman then proceeds with the original car tracking mission, leading to his capture where he is rescued by Nightwing. Penguin gets away, but Robin drops in after the fight is over and tells Batman that he placed a tracker on Penguin's truck, but Batman says he doesn't have time to go after Penguin now. Robin tries to get more info on how the hunt for Oracle is going, but Batman is cracked a bit more since his last conversation with Tim, and at the Joker's urging, he lashes out a bit more than needed and tells Robin to worry about his own mission. Nightwing tries to stand up for Robin, but Bruce doesn't want to hear it and storms off, his mind becoming more muddled with time. He proceeds to Stagg's airships, where I'm not going to make many changes. He fully cracks there again like he did in the OG, getting hit with a bit more fear toxin will do that to you, and Scarecrow sees this and becomes a bit more afraid himself. Batman fights off the Joker in his mind, resisting the temptation to kill Scarecrow, but then the front of the airship blows off. The Arkham Knight fired a missile into the front to get Batman's attention. He tells Batman not to worry about the Scarecrow, that he'll be taken care of, instead now he has a chance to save Barbara. He has 1 minute to get to Chinatown and Barbara dies. Batman leaves Scarecrow and vaults out of the airship, gliding as fast as he can into Chinatown, and arrives in the room that Ivy was held in, but now it's covered head to toe in TVs, displaying Barbara on each screen. Batman begins to panic. The Joker mentions how this looks familiar, while Batman calls for Barbara. She wakes up on the screen, sees Batman, freaks out, and shoots herself, all in the same way, but this time she isn't behind glass right in front of him, and he doesn't leave her lifeless corpse there. It also doesn't have to be some bullshit hallucination trick that doesn't make any sense, so it's more forgivable when she's revealed to be alive later. Yes, I'm pulling the same fake out death bullshit because I'm trying to stay as close to the original as possible, and as cliche as having the one woman character's kidnapping serve as the primary motivation for the game, removing that aspect would utterly change the entire structure of the story, so I'm doing it, but my way. At this crossroads of the game, instead of Joker asking Batman what he's gonna do, he'll be prodding Batman not to tell Robin, pleading with him, pestering him, negotiating with him that it's the only way to keep Robin safe, that he'll just run off and get himself killed like Barbara, like Jason. We have all the TVs surrounding Batman reactivate, and it's here that we see the first flashback hallucination thing from the movie studios in the original, with Jason being tortured by the Joker. We fade back to our reality, and Batman receives a call from Robin, asking about the progress he's made with Barbara. Batman lies to Tim, telling him that Chinatown was a false lead and that he's still looking for her, but that he's getting close and Tim just needs to trust him. Alfred interrupts the call with an emergency alert. Based on security footage, he tells him it looks like Harley Quinn is leading an assault on Wayne Manor. Robin pleads with Batman that he can go and handle it himself, and insists that Batman needs to keep looking for Oracle. He tells Bruce that it's time that he starts trusting him too, to which Alfred gives his blessing, mentioning he's bunkered down in the Batcave with all the internal security activated and a shotgun at his side. Batman agrees, and Robin hitches a ride on the Batwing and zooms over to Wayne Manor. That's right, I'm replacing Harley's assault on the movie studios to actually be an assault on a real iconic base of operations for the Bat family. Sue me. So from here we have Batman coming up with a plan to team up with Ivy, and then he gets her to the Botanical Gardens. After that, we cut to Robin at Wayne Manor. Since there were already DLC versions of both Wayne Manor and the Batcave built out for Arkham City, as well as the Proto-Batcave in Origins, I'm expecting the setting to play out pretty similarly to those, but perhaps updated slightly, especially the Batcave could have some major overhauls. However, when Robin arrives, he's dropping down on the front yard, not wanting the Batwing to get spotted heading into the Batcave and potentially alerting anyone to Alfred's location. So yeah, some slightly new settings will need to be established for this version of events, so I'm bending my rule a bit. When Robin lands on the exterior, he shows up just in time for some exposition in classic Arkham fashion. We see that Harley is on a rampage. She's absolutely furious and more crazed than ever before. She wants her men to tear the manor apart and kill anyone they find inside except Bruce Wayne. She wants to deal with him personally. She then vanishes inside the manor with armed goons. Robin has to take down some snipers and then engage in an all-out brawl with a number of thugs and a huge goon before entering the manor, which alerts Harley to his presence. Once inside, we have a nice stealth mission with Robin taking down the armed goons around the manor in fun, clever ways. When they're all down, Robin takes Harley out last, and we cut to a cinematic. Robin is mocking her in his cocky way, but Harley isn't having it. She's clearly distraught and out for revenge. She cries out, asking why Robin is defending Bruce Wayne. He's not the man that Robin knew. He's a murderer, and he killed her Mr. J. Harley knows that Bruce Wayne is Batman, and she's here for revenge. Tim is stunned by this, enough that Harley sees an opportunity. She recognizes a grandfather clock and mentions under her breath, 0539. Robin turns back to the clock surprised again, and when he looks back, he is clobbered upside the head by a mallet. He falls back, and Harley turns the face of the clock, opening up a secret door to the Batcave. Tim goes to chase after her, but is hit again from the side. Tim looks up, and on the balcony is the Ninja Robin from earlier, which really shocks him once again. "I thought she'd never find it," the new Robin says, before attacking Tim. Tim throws down smoke to hide and regroup while the new Robin begins taunting Tim, mocking his ability as a Robin and questioning why Batman ever chose him to be his partner. From here, we have Tim using his knowledge of the manor to his advantage, breaking out serious defenses he designed with his technical skill to take down the new Robin, who only becomes more enraged at Tim's cowardice and refusal to fight him one-on-one. When given the opportunity, Tim escapes down into the Batcave and seals the door behind him, more concerned about Alfred than about fighting this other Robin. At this point, I'm gonna stop going out of my way to hide the identity of this other Robin. If you're listening to this, you likely already know who it is. If not, I will explain later, but it's Damian. Sorry for the spoiler, but if I keep saying Ninja Robin, New Robin, Other Robin, I'm gonna explode. In the Batcave, Harley has Alfred cornered. He's sealed away in a panic room, stone-faced, with his shotgun pointed at the door, while Harley is beating in the bulletproof glass crack by crack with her mallet. Her makeup is coming off in streaks down her face as she cries and howls for Batman to come out and face her. She catches an injured Robin coming up behind her, first from the slightest flicker of Alfred's eye, and then from his reflection in the glass. Harley turns around, screaming, begging to know where Bruce Wayne is. When Robin hesitates, taking pity on her as she doesn't seem ready to attack him, Harley mentions that the girl said he would be here. Robin steps forward. "What girl?" "The crippled Four Eyes, the commissioner's kid," Harley shouts back. "They told me what she told them. They captured her, tortured her, she told them everything she knew. She was working with you, right? She was the little birdie in your ears. They told me Bruce Wayne was Batman. They told me who you are too, kid, but I gotta be honest, I've already forgotten, and I don't care. Where's your daddy?" A shuriken flies right into Harley's cheek. She stands in shock, blood dripping down her face. "The knight told me he wouldn't come," Damian says. "I had no reason not to believe him, but I just had to see for myself." Harley takes a seat beside the cracked glass, her expression frozen with the blades jutting out between her fingers as she holds her hand tight against her face. "Harley, you're going to be okay," Tim says. "I think she's way past okay. She is one of the fools who claims Batman killed the clown. They see only what they want to see, not understanding the full picture. Just like Batman. At least you two have that in common." Damian smirks, and we get ourselves a fight. Arkham Origins Deathstroke style, but between Robin and Robin. This is a knockdown, drag-out fight where Damian seems to have the edge. The first round, Tim wins though, headbutting Damian and knocking his hood off. After the second round, Damian then pulls out a blade and slashes Tim down his chest, drawing blood and slicing his emblem apart. Harley jumps up and sprays Damian with Joker's old acid flower that she's been hanging onto. It begins to melt Damian's cloak and cape, and he has to strip them off, then knocks Harley back to the ground. Tim and Damian go at it once again, with Tim trying to position Damian in the right spot to activate a trap. Just as Tim activates his trap, Tim is hurled up into the air. Damian had laid his own trap and implemented it on Tim at the exact same time. Both break free, and as Tim is about to go at Damian, Damian decides to focus on Harley. Tim then pivots from attack to defense and takes a shuriken to the back for her. Even after everything you've done for him, you've all done for him, he isn't even here trying to help you in your time of need. You're all pathetic for staying around him, suffering for a fool who could end it all if he wanted to. End his pursuit of virtue he fights to just keep alive while allowing unacceptable casualties to pile up in his passivity. "Where is Barbara?" Tim shouts. "What have you done with her?" Damian laughs, walking over to Jason Todd's Robin costume in its glass case and breaks it open. "He didn't even tell you?" Damian attaches Jason's old cape to his current costume. "Batman watched Barbara die over an hour ago." Bullets fire at Damian, who then throws down smoke and disappears with a grin. Gordon runs into the scene, gun in hand. "He's lying," Gordon shouts. "Barbara isn't dead. We can still save her." "Batman?" Tim whispers to himself. "I came here to find answers, access to your resources." "Who was that?" Gordon asks. Robin doesn't answer. Harley begins laughing hysterically. "Who was that?" Gordon asks again. Cut back to Batman. We pick back up with the mission to deactivate the missile launcher. That all plays out essentially the same way until Batman gets to the actual deactivating part. When he arrives, the Arkham Knight is already in the room hacking the system himself. He questions what took Batman so long, and Batman confronts the Knight about Barbara's death. They engage in their dual chokehold like in the OG, but the Knight mentions that he just won a bet that Batman wouldn't go to help Alfred himself. No one's a high enough priority to stop the crusade. Huh, Bruce? The Knight asks, revealing he knows who Batman is. He tells Batman that since he's now in a generous mood, he'll allow Batman to deal with the militia alone, and vanishes. The rest of the level proceeds as normal, and now this isn't a scene where the Arkham Knight purposely arrives to fight Batman and then leaves at the first sign of trouble like a bitch. Batman then heads to the clock tower like he does in the original to analyze the findings from the Batwing. However, when he arrives, he is jumped by Tim, who quickly gets the best of him. Tim is clearly not playing around and tells Bruce not to struggle, that he designed most of the clock tower security systems himself to protect Barbara. Tim asks why Batman didn't tell him about Barbara's death, to which Batman responds, she has to be alive. There's a chance she could be alive, and even if there's the slightest chance, he knows he can save her. It was a video, it could have been altered. He's not 100% sure she's dead, and for that reason, he's still operating like she can be saved and needs to be quickly. Tim, while easing off of Bruce a little, still cannot forgive him for keeping that information to himself. He claims that the Trust can never go back to the way things were, and that he's done being Robin. He tears off the remaining remnant of the R from his suit and throws it on the floor, but that doesn't mean he's giving up on Barbara. He's working with Gordon, trying to track her down from the ground level, giving Batman more room to focus on the citywide threat before it gets too bad. Before leaving, Tim says that he already has someone vying to be his replacement. The Arkham Knight, this edgelord Robin. Do you know who they are? I was hoping you learned something, Batman says. No. You wanted to be in this alone, so I guess for once, it's not a bad thing I can't help you. Oh, and I know the Knight is tough enough, but he broke Jason's case and stole his cape. I'm sorry, I just didn't want it to be a surprise later, after we save the day. Again. Robin smiles and zips off. Batman has a moment where he gets lost in a thought before getting an alert from Alfred. Poison Ivy is engaging with the militia forces, and Batman has to get over there. The story then proceeds as normal all the way to the Batmobile repair section in the City of Fear. So the whole cloudburst thing happened, and Batman got the power cell from Stag's airship. When he arrives at the rooftop, about to drop down to repair the Batmobile, a shuriken flies at him, which he catches. The Arkham Knight then calls him on his intercom arm thing, telling Batman not to bother trying to play the hero now for a bunch of criminals who stayed in town to loot. He tells Batman this is what he's been waiting for, to let Scarecrow incite the self-destruction of crime within Gotham City, and that he will clean up the rest once the dust has settled. Batman calls him Jason, to which the Knight says, "So you do remember me. That doesn't matter. I know it's hard for you, but make the right choice, Bruce." Joker pleads with Batman after the call, pestering him that the Knight is right, stating that he must have beat some sense into the boy all those years ago. Batman jumps anyway, and the Joker hallucinations start again once he enters the fear gas. The rest of the mission plays out the same, except it's Deathstroke in the Cloudburst tank instead of the Knight. When the mission wraps up, Batman pulls Deathstroke out of the tank and up to the rooftops, where instead of just punching Deathstroke, who turns out to, I guess, not even be there, the Arkham Knight jumps Batman on the rooftops. He's furious that Batman risked his life to save all the degenerate criminals in the streets below, and succeeded while he couldn't even save him from a clown. Again, I'm thinking a hardcore Deathstroke-style battle here on the rooftops of Gotham, with the orange fear toxin clouds still surrounding them. The dialogue during this fight should play out the same way it plays out in the original stealth version of the confrontation, with Batman pleading with Jason, claiming that he thought he was dead, telling him that he searched for him for months, and that he held out hope for as long as he could. But Jason would have none of it. In their fight, Batman gets the best of him, but seeing Jason's face for the first time through his cracked mask gives Batman a moment to reflect, and Jason uses this opportunity to fire another round into his armor like he had done earlier. Batman stumbles back, gripping his wound while Jason points the gun at him. By now, his mask has transitioned into the Red Hood version. Jason gives his speech about his new pursuit of justice, how Batman isn't capable enough anymore, how Batman changed the world into its constant state of extreme criminality, and that the time has come for someone to change it again. Batman apologizes for not being there for Jason, but says that it doesn't have to be like this, that they can work together to make things right. Jason winces, lowering his gun, wanting that to be true, but he denies Batman and goes to leave. "You suspect who the kid is, right?" Jason asks. "The angry young man following me around, a familiar sight. He's the son of the demon." Jason vanishes. Batman reassesses the scene, Deathstroke escaped during the struggle, and the game proceeds as planned. Batman goes off to talk to Ivy, and she sacrifices herself just like she did in the original game, clearing the cloudburst cloud. After this, Batman receives a message from Gordon telling him that he lost radio contact with Tim after he went looking for Barbara. We flash back to Tim's point of view during the City of Fear. He was working with Gordon at the time within the GCPD building, accessing security cameras around the city, trying to operate off of Batman's hunch that Barbara may still be alive. He is using facial recognition software in frankly a very troublesome way, which Cash brings up, but Tim and Gordon both shut him down in their desperate search. Tim gets a match on Barbara using a drone, but then the cloudburst explodes and takes out the drone. Everyone in the police station begins freaking out as the criminals on the ground are trying to penetrate the GCPD in their fear toxin-induced rampage. I think it is necessary to show the City of Fear from the ground level instead of just Batman's perspective, because the city is filled mostly with criminals, but the one hub of people we care about is also located beneath the cloud, and it's a perspective I think was missing in the original game. Tim engages the criminals who get through, while Gordon's men work to barricade themselves in. Once the area is secure, Tim heads off to track down Barbara. Tim has to expose himself to the fear toxin a little in order to get above it, which affects his gameplay for the rest of this section. Eventually, he makes his way to Barbara's location, descending down a rooftop and stealthily taking down a couple of goons on his way to an abandoned floor. Tim approaches Barbara, who is unmoving in a chair. He believes she is dead, but prays that the fear toxin is just messing with his mind. He goes to take her pulse, and she reaches out and grabs him. Her eyes are black holes, and she screams, "You let this happen to me." Tim jumps back and is hit by Damien's shuriken in the back. Damien mocks Tim, saying he's 3 for 3 with a shuriken now, and that Tim wasn't supposed to see this yet, but says it makes no difference to him. Damien is engaging from the shadows, and the pair begin in a stealth battle similar to the one in Wayne Manor, but this time on Damien's home turf, and while Tim is suffering from fear hallucinations. Damien ultimately wins and captures Tim. Before knocking him out though, Damien shows him that Barbara is only asleep and tells him to get one final look at her. Back in the present, Batman says he'll check on Tim, but Gordon says he's coming and for Batman not to bother trying to convince him otherwise. At this point, I have to interject with how I think one of the side missions should play out. I haven't talked about any of them really, but there's one in particular that left me incredibly disappointed that I think could be reworked in my version of events. At some point earlier in the game, we should hear from Alfred that Harley escaped the Batcave and that she used the Batcomputer to search for Bruce Wayne, who she found out is at Wayne Enterprises. Naturally, Batman thinks this is odd and tries to contact Lucius Fox, who they don't hear back from either. So Batman goes back to Wayne Enterprises to check in on Lucius, just like in the original game, but this time, Batman sees that a good deal of the top 2 floors are destroyed. Upon entering his office, he finds that Lucius and the secretary are okay, but that Harley Quinn is there, pouting on his desk with her outfit sprinkled in blood. In the corner is a sniffling, blood-soaked man, shaking and muttering over and over, "I'm not Bruce Wayne, I'm not Bruce Wayne." We're redoing Hush, baby! We flash back to the same moment of the Hush sequence from the original, with Hush exiting the elevator and revealing that he is a fake Bruce Wayne by pulling a gun on Lucius, only this time, the whole office door blows up and Harley comes charging through with a mallet and begins wailing on Hush. I'm talking a bloody beatdown where we get to have fun playing as one of the villains, beating a Bruce Wayne lookalike silly. Hush begs Harley to stop, pleading that he isn't Bruce Wayne and trembling. After a revved up finisher, Harley catches her breath, looking confused and disgusted. We flash forward to the present and Harley's worn out on the desk. Harley says that she knew this couldn't have been Batman since he was using a gun. She knows that Batman doesn't make it that easy on himself, but she says she wishes it was him. Or she wishes that he would stop whining about his precious face. She tells Batman that she doesn't want to feel this grief any longer, that she feels lost without Mr. J, and none of it seems worth it anymore. She wants to go back to normal. Batman thanks her for protecting Lucius and the secretary, to which Harley says bashing Pretty Boy was its own reward and demands a better cell than her previous one. Yes, it isn't the epic Hush storyline we were alluded to in Arkham City, but at least this version feels like a unique aspect of the game and serves as the conduit to wrap up one of the major characters of the series in a satisfying enough way. At least I think Harley and Hush kind of got screwed in the original, so I think this version is better. So, back to the main plot. Batman proceeds through the Militia Tower in the same way, beginning at the bottom with the Batmobile and working his way up. He sees that it's a militia base and assumes that Scarecrow has somehow come into possession of Barbara. As Batman is driving around the tunnels beneath, in this version it is Damian who's driving the excavator trying to kill Batman. Damian is enraged and erratic in this first confrontation. He despises Batman, saying that he was willing to play things the Knight's way up until Batman destroyed the Cloudburst, choosing to save the unworthy criminal scum of the city, while only a year ago he couldn't save Talia al Ghul. Damian corners Bruce and says that now he can be with the clown he mourns more than Damian's own mother. Batman escapes the scenario just like he did originally, now knowing that this imposter Robin is the son of Talia, and he starts doing some classic deducing. Meanwhile, Scarecrow speaks on the intercom throughout Batman's ascent up the tower, taunting him to come to the top to rescue Barbara. Enter Gordon, fists of fury blazing, who punches some dumb militia sucker through the door just in time to intercept Batman in the same location Batman found Gordon tied up in the original. Gordon gets done a little dirty in the OG, so I wanted to give him some shine in this version. However, when Batman turns around and begins talking, Gordon doesn't respond, and Batman turns back to find Damian doing a silent takedown on him. Fun little twist on the Batman-Gordon disappearance gag. In place of the original confrontation between Jason Todd and Batman in this scene, here it is one between Damian and Batman. Batman acknowledges that Talia's death was a tragedy, but Damian remains infuriated. Damian reveals that he is Bruce's son, to which Bruce falters in his reaction. He simply says that he knows, and Damian explodes, asking if he knew he had a son when his mother died, or did the great detective only figure it out moments ago. Bruce doesn't know how to answer, and Damian attacks him, saying how disappointed he is to have such a weak coward for a father. The stealth battle takes place similarly to how it played out with Jason, with Batman besting Damian but extending his hand out to help the boy afterward. Batman says that he knows what it's like to grow up feeling alone, but Damian smacks his hand away, saying that Batman would rather surround himself with weaklings than be alone, and that has made him too weak to act. He says that his mother would be ashamed of Bruce, and at the first chance he gets, Damian vanishes. Batman gets Gordon on his feet, and the pair travel up to the roof to confront Scarecrow. However, when they get there, it's revealed that Scarecrow has been Arkham Knight's hostage, and he has been speaking through the intercom on Jason's command. It's also revealed that he has Barbara up there with him. He sent the altered video to Bruce to see if watching another one of his allies die would be enough to push him over the edge and see the light. Jason is disappointed and gives Bruce one final choice: kill Scarecrow himself and get Barbara back, or watch her die to save a madman. So the big change I'm making with this scene is that Gordon isn't doing some weird pseudo-betrayal of Batman for an ambiguous motivation, and the scene officially removes Scarecrow as the primary villain. He was yet another psycho trying to destroy Gotham, but Jason's point is this keeps happening and there's only one way to stop it. Jason makes Gordon give Batman his gun. Barbara pleads with Batman not to shoot Scarecrow, but Gordon is more hesitant. He doesn't outright tell Batman to kill Scarecrow, but it's clear if the choice was up to him, he'd probably pull the trigger to save his daughter. Jason is prodding Bruce, asking him how many loved ones he is willing to sacrifice for his crusade. Batman asks Jason where Tim is, and Jason seems confused. Batman says that Robin's tracking signal is coming from nearby, and Jason looks behind him to find a tattered piece of red cloth from Tim's suit stuck to his back. "The kid," Jason mutters. Damian appears on the TV screens around Gotham with Tim Drake strung up behind him. Damian states that he is sick of watching this back and forth between the Knight, Batman, and all the rest. Damian knows that Jason is as weak as Batman. This Knight has proven that, and he knows that Jason isn't going to pull the trigger on Barbara no matter what Batman does. At the end of the day, neither are willing to do what it takes, but he is. He is the ultimate Robin, better than Jason ever was, better than the weakling he's captured, and he's gonna prove it to the world. He isn't here to cull the weak. This city doesn't deserve to be put out of its misery. Instead, he wants Batman to come face him. Tim is merely the bait to bring Batman to fight him to the death, because if he doesn't, he will kill Tim, and then the old man, and anyone else he needs to until Batman can finish him off once and for all. Jason gets frustrated with Damian, and in the confusion, Gordon grabs his gun back from Batman and goes to shoot the Scarecrow, but Batman jumps in the way of the bullet and tackles Scarecrow off the roof. A moment later, we hear from Gordon on the radio thanking Batman for doing what he did. It was the only way he saw how to end the stalemate. He then tells Batman that he and Barbara are safe and that the Arkham Knight disappeared in a cloud of smoke after Batman left, essentially doing exactly what Damian predicted. Gordon says he'll handle taking Barbara back to GCPD, as he can see that Batman has something bigger to handle, but Batman says he will escort them. Batman tosses Scarecrow in the Batmobile, then we have an escort mission following Gordon's car back to the GCPD, while Deathstroke's militia trucks try to take them out. Upon arriving at the GCPD, Batman heads to the rooftop to take out militia troops trying to invade, just like in the original, with the help of Barbara's sweet hacking skills. Once everything is secure, Batman heads back down to take Scarecrow out of the Batmobile, but the villain hits him with one final dose of fear toxin, which begins crumbling Batman's world and explains how far off the deep end he's about to go. So Damian contacts Batman and lays out the same ground rules as Scarecrow did in the original. He has to turn in his gizmos. He wants to face his father in the hall of all his greatest adversaries so that he can stand victorious over the spirit of them, knowing that he succeeded where they all failed. This brings me to how we wrap up the Joker storyline. Honestly, since my version of events has completely removed the Joker taking over Batman aspect of the story, I'm not sure how much sense the final series of hallucinations make at this point. I have to say that I do really enjoy that original ending for the Joker story, even though I think everything before it was not that well done, but I'm committed to this rewrite and I'm gonna give it my best shot. Since in my version of events, Batman is getting worse and worse from the fear toxin, and his fear that cracked him has been guilt over the Joker's death, as well as fear of becoming like the Joker, I think confronting his son in a life and death scenario with Tim's life on the line would bring all of those elements to the forefront. Batman can arrive at Arkham Asylum the same way, dropping his belt off and getting in a truck, driven by some deathly scared goon, and then when Batman arrives, there are no cameras in this version. Bruce doesn't get his identity revealed to the public, there is just Damian circling Tim with a crowbar. Damian is focused on making Batman choose which son has to die tonight. He's challenging Batman to see if he can do what it takes to save a loved one, or if he'll fail just like he did with his mother. Batman tries to talk, but Damian is itching for a fight, and when it begins, it's already clear that Batman is struggling to keep his mind together. During the fight, with each hit that Batman connects on Damian, we flash back to some of the famous Joker brutalities established in this franchise, but with Batman in Joker's role. We see Batman torturing Jason with the crowbar. We see Batman knocking on Barbara's door with a gun and paralyzing her, and we see Batman killing Talia al Ghul in Arkham City. After that, when we flash back to the fight, Batman is the Joker. Batman has fully cracked, overwhelmed by the fear toxin and given in to who he fears he is becoming, so that the player's perception is that we are now playing as the Joker from here. Joker is demolishing Damian with his true skill unleashed in hand-to-hand combat. Damian quickly realizes that he's outclassed, but the Joker doesn't stop the beating. I'm thinking it gets to the point of the Joker finisher from Arkham Origins, where Batman is just beating the piss out of the Joker non-stop, except now it's Joker, Batman, doing so to Damian. Afterward, when Damian is bloodied on the floor, crawling backwards, he smirks and says that he didn't think Batman had the courage to do what needed to be done. Joker picks up the crowbar that Damian used to taunt Batman, which triggered this whole change, and approaches him with a smile. Damian just begins laughing, with tears rolling down his cheeks, and says, "At least I'll get to be with her again." This stops the Joker in his tracks. Looking down at another Robin, beaten bloody and about to be abused by a crowbar, just a little boy who misses his dead mother, the trance begins to wane, and Batman breaks through his fear. He throws the crowbar away in disgust, tosses his cowl on the floor, and approaches his crying son. He gets down on one knee and tells him that he misses his mother, that he regrets allowing that madman to get the best of him, and that if he could switch places with her, he would, so that Damian would never need to know what losing a mother feels like. Damian is silent, and Batman tells him that he should come home with him, that it isn't too late for Damian to be better, and that there's plenty of room in his family. Damian lunges forward and hugs his father. After a moment, they begin talking again. "I suppose I should untie your protege and we can discuss accommodations further." No need, Tim drops down from his position on a gargoyle above. Artie was saved. Batman's getting a little slow in his old age. Tim? How? Batman asks. Your previous protege, Tim says. Jason snuck in during the fight and set me free. Potentially show a little flashback image here. He didn't stick around, said he had better things to do than watch another family squabble. I have a feeling we're going to be seeing him again. From here, the game proceeds as planned, but instead of the end game of the Nightfall Protocol happening, where Batman blows up Wayne Manor and fakes his death because his identity was exposed, in my dumb, sucker, sappy-ass mind, it's very different and better suits the thematic story being told in this game, instead of some weird cliffhanger that will likely never be resolved. When Gotham is saved, the game is completed at 100%, Batman arrives at Wayne Manor to find the Bat family, all bandaged up, waiting for him in the dining hall with Alfred serving some food. Dick and Gordon are laughing it up, Gordon with a whiskey in hand and a bottle beside him. Tim and Barbara are holding each other, teasing the other while examining their injuries. At the far end of the table, Damian is sulking, not quite acclimated to the scene, but Alfred is over his shoulder and slaps his boots to get them off the dining room table. When Bruce walks into the room, everyone smiles and welcomes him to breakfast. We pan outside of the window and see Jason unmasked in a tree looking onto the festivities. He watches Damian smile at something Alfred says and then watches Bruce take a seat next to his son. Good luck, kid. Jason smiles, then puts on his Red Hood mask and the game ends. That is how I'd rewrite Batman Arkham Knight. To me, with the utilization of so many Bat family characters in the plot, such a focus on the legacy of Batman, and Jason Todd coming back from the dead to make Batman face his greatest failure and fears, this game always felt like it should have been all about Batman and the relationships he has with those around him, which make it worthwhile. The best part about the extended Batman mythology is that Bruce starts out his crusade as an angry young man, alone in the world with only Alfred to look after him, just like we see in Origins, and he even takes Alfred for granted during the early years. But over time, that brooding man with a chip on his shoulder eventually surrounds himself with an extended family who all care for him despite what an ass he can be. I think that Arkham City perfectly set up a reason for Damian Wayne to enter the series, Bruce's biological son, which in a way thematically wraps up Bruce's journey from a loner to a family man now responsible for raising his own wayward son. I do think Bruce is Dick, Jason, and Tim's dad as well, but this franchise never gave us any of their early years as Robin, so I think having it implied that Damian will take up the mantle is a great place to end the story for this game, maybe even the franchise as a whole. So that's what I would do differently. I tried to stick to the major beats of the original, I tried not to veer too far from what would be possible in the confines of the established franchise, but I know I played it a little loose. Was this very fanfiction-y and cringy at times? Oh, absolutely. But I just love all of these characters, and I wanted to share my opinion on how I would have utilized them for this story. Essentially, I'm just obsessed with getting mainstream love for the Bat family. I feel like no medium outside of the comics has ever truly cracked it, but Arkham Knight came the closest. Maybe Young Justice is in second place. So, I wish Arkham Knight went a little harder on showing off the love and care and tension and drama surrounding these characters. However, it looks like Gotham Knights may really give us a Bat Family exclusive game if Batman isn't in it, which I won't hold my breath for. They lie in the marketing of these Batman games every single time. But with all that said and done, please let me know what you would change about Arkham Knight if you could. Let me know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video, why not check out some of these others on your screen now?